Hey guys, my name is proofSzilko. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining. So I have a quick tutorial for you guys because you've been asking for this tutorial many times already on my live streams. So I'm gonna do it real fast. I'm gonna walk you through my loadout and my favorite weapon, which I like to use most of the times to play solos in Warzone. And this loadout actually helped me a lot to score victories. I have plenty of them already, and the majority of them were indeed with this weapon, with these attachments. So let's go. I will walk you through the details. So my favorite weapon is the M4A1, as you can see it on the screen now. And my secondary is the Pila, aka the bazooka. I'm gonna talk about the bazooka and the perks and the gadgets as well in a little bit more detail in the second part of this video, but first let's see the M4A1. I have the monolithic suppressor. It has the sound suppression and damage range pluses, and ADS speed is slow and aim walking steadiness is also a negative point. But all in all, I think it's very well balanced suppressor, which wouldn't reduce the damage itself. So I recommend you guys to use this one. Alright, so moving on to barrel. This is a heavy duty 20-inch barrel, greatly increases muzzle velocity and extends range. And due to the handguard, it will gain some extra weight, which will reduce the movement speed and the aim downside. But all in all, it's a pretty good attachment because it increases damage and also it gives you a high bullet velocity, and also the recoil control is pretty good with this barrel. So this is my barrel choice. And moving on to laser, I put on the laser just because of the ADS speed. Normally I wouldn't use this and my enemies can spot the laser tag, so you have to be careful with that. But you know, since all the previous attachments were increasing my ADS time, I had to put something to try to compensate that. Alright, so optic. This is one of my favorite optics, guys. Solo Zero night vision goggles enhanced optic. This has a thermal target identificator and a zoom level, and also decreases the ADS speed, unfortunately. So I use this because I can pretty easily spot enemies even through the gas if they don't have the counter perk to disable that. But the majority of players wouldn't use that, so this optic is a pretty good useful one, especially in the final few circles. You just melt down the enemies, they have no chance to get away because you can spot them through the scope. And 60 rounds ammunition. This is important, guys. This setup gives me a really high rate of fire weapon and recoil control is pretty good, so I need a 60 rounds magazine. And with this I can go through not just only one target, but even 2 or 3 if the situation requires that. So I recommend you to go with the 60 rounds magazine. Alright, so this is my M4A1 setup. So moving on to the Pila, I mostly play solos when I do the live streams in Warzone, and majority of the players like to use the vehicles in solos. So having the Pila on my secondary weapon slot is a pretty useful one, and the Pila can actually track targets, air and ground targets as well, so it's pretty cool, it's pretty useful. But beware, because your enemies would get the notification that they are being targeted or being shot at, so most of the times they will just leave the vehicle. But you know, that still helps you to make them stop driving around and just be an on-foot target, which you can obviously finish with the M4. So I recommend you to use the Pila as a secondary in solos, pretty useful one. And now let's move on to the perks. So cold-blooded. Cold-blooded makes you undetectable by AI targeting systems and thermal optics, and does not trigger high alert warnings. The second one is the ghost. If you have the Pila, you don't have to have the overkill attached, so I like to use the ghost perk because you'll be undetectable by UAVs, radar, drones or heartbeat sensors. Alright, so the third one is, this is my decision. I like to use the spotter as a third perk because it will help me you know, spotting claymores, proximity mines or C4s. Alright, so moving on to the lethals. Still, because of the drivers in solos, I like to use the C4 as my lethal gadget. And just a quick information, guys, normally if you would throw it, you have to pull the trigger once again to make it explode. But there's a cheat for that. If you double tap square or reload on your controller, you can make it explode earlier, which is pretty useful. If someone pushes close to you with a vehicle or on foot, you can have a quick attack on them with the C4 quick explosion button. Double tap reload, don't forget, guys. And of course, the last gadget I like to use, the non-lethal one, is the heartbeat sensor. As we move ahead in time, more and more players will use heartbeat sensor in Warzone, especially in, you know, solos. So it's harder to spot enemies, but still one of the most useful gadgets. So I recommend you guys to use the heartbeat sensor, but be aware, because while you're using it, you won't be able to shoot. So make sure that you won't get into trouble while using it. Okay, so I hope this video was helpful for you guys. You've been asking for this many times. And again, guys, I like to use this loadout to score as many victories as possible. And majority of my victories were with this loadout, so I recommend you to try. Give it a try at least, see how it works. Try to change a little bit if you want to improve the ADS speed or the movement speed. But these attachments with the M4 really helps me to have a laser beam accurate 60 rounds per magazine killing machine in my hands, which, yeah, helped me a lot. So guys, with that being said, thank you so much for being here. I hope you found this video useful. If you did so, please make sure to leave a like. If you didn't, make sure to leave a dislike, of course, you can do that. Subscribe if you're new here for more Warzone tutorials in the future or live streams. I do live streams from 9 PM CET, Tuesday till Sunday. So if you want to join us, make sure to hit the subscribe button. And I see you on the live stream, guys. Take care, stay safe, ciao.